Welcome to Edgewater, Florida, home of Everglades boats. Here our dedicated family of employees build the finest handcrafted boats on the market today. I'm Brian Harris, Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Everglades, and today we're going to show you what truly sets us apart, what makes us different, like our vertical integration. 80% of all the components in our boats are actually manufactured here by us. Our 111,000 square foot factory was designed and built by industry icon and our founder, Bob Doherty. Bob built the factory. He had been in the business for years and years, designing and building boats, for decades even, and he built the factory to be a boat facility. So the flow is there, the quality control is there. Everything we're going to show you today is how a boat should be built and how the flow should be. Today, our owners, Grand Crossing Capital, continuing that tradition, and we're coming up with all kinds of new innovative product and continuing with what Bob started. We don't just design differently, we're different by design. And that shows up in every detail, in the ride, the fit, finish, and the way that we do everything here at Everglades. You've chosen a boat in a class all its own. Each one reflects the highest standard. That same excellence you strive for in every other aspect of your life. And with Everglades, you get it. Today, we're going to take you through our plant and show you all of the unique processes that come together in the building of an Everglades boat.
Hi, my name is John Ward and I'm the CEO of Everglades Boats. I've been with the company for about a year and a half and have spent 25 years in the marine industry. I wanted to take a moment and talk to you a little bit about Everglades Boats and what makes us so unique in the marketplace. I think there's two fundamental things that differentiates our brand from all the rest of the brands in the industry. RAMCAP, which you'll learn more about later on in the film, is what defines and creates an unsinkable hull that gives you the best ride in the industry, bar none. And secondly, innovation. Our company has been known for the past 15 years to provide the most innovative features on center console fishing boats. We're very proud of the innovation that we've created, and it's something that defines our brand and something that our customers look for when we bring out new models. The combination of RAMCAP and innovation is what gives us the confidence, our dealers, and our customers with our brand. And through that, we're able to offer a unlimited lifetime hull warranty and a 5-year component warranty.
Now we've moved inside and we're going to start our journey through the Everglades plant and see just how we go about building our boats. And I'm joined with Timmy Dow, our regional sales manager for Everglades Boats. One of the biggest assets that we have, other than our people, are our molds. Any fiberglass part that we make, we start with a mold, and this is our mold maintenance department where we do all the upkeep of the molds and keep them in tip-top shape. That's where the great fit and finish that we become known for starts.
Working with molds isn't something you just pick up. It takes years to perfect. And here at Everglades, we have an entire team of craftspeople who've spent the years learning to make, maintain, and fit these to our exact specifications. No flaws, no exceptions. These molds make up every fiberglass element that we build our boats with. Now, let's go check out the proprietary foam and the RAMCAP process. The next phase is how we provide flotation, and this is truly what sets an Everglades boat apart. Brian, why don't you tell us about RAMCAP and why it's so special?
RAMCAP's so special because it's a very unique process. In fact, we invented the process here at Everglades in 1999. It actually won the NMMA Innovation Award for new processes in the marine industry, or a new way to build a boat. When we invented the process, we didn't have the molds that we actually make the foam in. We make these molds in our metal shop. We're going to show you in a minute some of the foam that comes out. But let me explain how it's different. Most manufacturers use a process called blind foaming, in which they inject foam into a cavity between the deck and hull to create flotation. With RAMCAP, we actually do the opposite. We make the foam first and we build the boat around pre-molded foam. Other manufacturers also use a low-density 2-pound foam where we create a 6-pound high-density foam. In a bit, we're going to go into lamination and show you how it comes together. But for now, let's go back and look at the foam and how it's made in the mold and comes out of the mold. So they've actually poured this foam and now they're taking the foam out of the mold. So So you'll see when we go in the other building, what we end up with is foam that fits exact. There's 8 to 12 pieces in the bottom of the boat. We put it in the bottom of the boat, we chemically bond it together, and when we're finished, we end up with something that's one solid piece. You couldn't take it apart if you wanted to, and that's where the solid ride in an Everglades comes from, and it's another way that we're different by design. To demonstrate the foam, we have 2 pieces of foam here. One is our competitor's foam, which is 2 to 3 pound density foam that everybody uses. Over here, we have the Everglades RAMCAP foam, which is 6 pound high density foam. Timmy, why don't we put the competitor's foam to a test? Got it. Now let's do the same thing with the Everglades foam. You can clearly see the difference in the 6 pound density foam. It made a very slight indentation. We've actually cut way down into the foam. So that's what's in the bottom of the boat and really makes a difference in the RAMCAP process. Now that you've seen how the foam is made, we're in lamination, and we're going to show you how we put the foam and all the other components together in the RAMCAP process to create an Everglades. Here all the components are on top of the boat, ready to go in the boat, and what they're doing now, they're making a wet bed of fiberglass and resin, which we're going to put the foam on. So it's not any kind of epoxy, it's not any kind of glue, it's actually fiberglass and resin. We're then going to take the foam logs that we made, and again, you can see that they're made to exacting standards. They fit exact, like a jigsaw puzzle, and we're going to put all the foam in the bottom of the boat. Once the foam's in the boat, we're going to make a wet bed of fiberglass and resin on top of the foam, and at the same time, we're going to put our synthetic transom in. We use a proprietary synthetic material in the transom, and like all Everglades, there's no wood in the boat at all. Everything is composite or metal in the boat. Once he makes the wet bed of fiberglass and resin on top of the foam, we're going to bring a liner over that's suspended over the top, and we're going to drop a liner down on top of that foam, and then we're going to pull a direct vacuum. We're going to hook a vacuum up on the front of the boat, and we're going to vacuum the boat together. Actually, 2 things are happening at once. When you mix fiberglass and resin together, it does what we call kick-off. It gets hot. There's a chemical reaction. At the same time, we are vacuuming the boat together, and in 24 hours, when we take it out of the mold, what we end up with is one piece. All the separate components have been bonded together and vacuumed together, and they all work as one. We don't get any flex when running the boat in the water, and that's where our solid ride comes from and the unsinkability of an Everglades. And it's another way that we're different by design. Now let's go take a look at how the whole process began.
So we've talked about the building of our boats, but before there's a mold, before there's even a foam pour, you've got to have a design. So how do we integrate our customers who are professional fishing guides, families, even kids into that design process? I'm here with David Brown, our Vice President of Product Development and Engineering, for some insight.
So it all starts with the dealer, the customer inputs. They're so important to us as we develop our next model. We take and we do exercises, voice of the customer, voice of the dealer exercises, and gather a lot of information. That helps us understand what the direction of the next model is going to be. We take all of that information and start our program of concept development, which is sketches, ideas, pulling together what the new technologies are going to be, introducing the new product to the marketplace with exciting elements of design, ergonomics, and form and function. From there, we take the concepts and we roll those into 3D development. While we're doing the 3D development, we're also starting the process of engineering, which means all your structural, your component design, your electrical and mechanical systems. All of those are very important because the Everglades DNA is robust and the integrity of the product is important, so it has to be engineered while we're doing the design. So once we're finished with the concept and into the 3D modeling, and we're starting to release our CAD information out to the vendors for mold build, those all come in and those go into our prototype. Our prototype is a design validation of all the product prior to going into the production of the model. And from the computer here, we're going to take a walk out into the shop floor and take a look at the prototype of our new dual console program. So we're out here on the prototype. What we've done is we've started with the concept through the design stage, through some of the tooling, and now what we're doing is actually validating the build process, the design of the boat, by prototyping it with good use of engineering drawings, kit development, and I'd like to introduce James, who's our supervisor of our lean manufacturing department, who is in charge of the oversight of the prototype build. James?
Well, what we're trying to do is take the drawings that has been built in the model completely and verify them in the hull itself, just to verify that everything fits. It's up to Everglades build standards, and everything is easy to service, whether it be the dealer side or the customer side. We're also trying to ensure that we use templates, which will make it easier on the assembly. Instead of things being hit or miss by an inch or so by laying them out, everything will be consistent. Everything is going to be in the same place. So if they call the warranty department and need to find a location of a pump, it's going to be in the same spot always and forever.
So James, David's just been talking to us about design and working from CAD. How do we get from paper, do you and your team get to building this?
We took all the engineering prints by the systems and slowly laid out the systems per the print and verified all the components within that system. Once we got one system down, we went to the next page, started on the next system. And if there was any kind of collision or routing errors, we stopped, regrouped, looked at the model, and tried to figure out a secondary solution.
Now we're in our finishing department. Brian, at this point in the manufacturing process, our boat is really starting to take some shape, but it's not done until all the details are nailed, and our staff in the quality assurance department has said, now this is an Everglades.
That's right, Timmy. Every boat that goes down the line is inspected and re-inspected from top to bottom and from stem to stern to check every detail and make sure everything's like it needs to be. This is our Reflex Use standard, and it's the way you would build a boat if you were building a boat for yourself. A couple other things here in our finishing department that are neat to look at is you can now see, before we saw the RAMCAP process, now you see how it's all come together. This is the hull that we saw in the mold. This is a liner, and you can see here that it's now one solid piece like we talked about. You also see the synthetic transom that we were laying in over in lamination, all one piece and very thick. And most of all, take a look at the attention to detail, the trouble we go to finish the inside of the boat. Most manufacturers don't do this. If it's under a seat or inside of a live well, they figure nobody's going to see it, so they don't. But at Everglades, if we see anything that small in the liner, we actually finish it. And you see 3 people in this boat right now working on the inside of the boat to make it a Class A finish, just like the outside of the boat. But it didn't just get this way without testing everything beforehand. So let's go to our testing lab and take a look at how we test raw materials before we ever start building a boat. We've now made our way into our quality lab here, and I'm with Stan Kosiniak, who manages the lab and is also our Director of Quality Assurance here at Everglades.
Thanks, Brian. One of the many things that we do in audits, and it could be upwards of 14 to 16 audits during the process, but one of the most important audits is an audit that's done before we even start to build a boat. Think about that now. We're testing incoming product before we even pull the trigger on our materials. These 2 materials in this case is gel coats and resins. And what we do is we determine, we have a set formula with our vendors, and they have to meet that standard, and those standards are applied, and we test them before it's actually brought into the facility and give to the technicians to start. So think about that, you know, in terms of if you were building a house, wouldn't you think you would like to have your concrete foundation checked before your house is built? This is really what this is. This is the foundation of an Everglades, and we verify that. So we have some simple things of gel timers, viscometers, excuse me. Gel timer, which basically says when it's going to gel and cure. We have core samples that we cut out. We perform burnouts, which is really we extract the resin from the fiberglass, and this is what you get. That tells us we're doing the right thing and it keeps us honest. Anywhere from a heat sensor gun to calibrating and making sure that the color is right batch after batch. So these are some of the things that we do that a lot of people don't know that we do before the product is even started in terms of quality. And to me, that's important for us through Everglades product.
It's very interesting, Stan. What else can you tell us about the quality assurance process as a boat goes through the plant and other places that we have quality measures built in?
Okay. One of the key words is that what Brian used is quality assurance. Not too long ago, it was quality control, and in my opinion, control of quality is very counterproductive, and you basically build quality into the boat. Quality assurance is a little different. It's more efficient and trying to educate the technicians on how to do proper applications of material, proper applications of fit and finish, and so forth and so on. So what we're trying to do, and we're implementing, we're not trying, we're actually doing this, is we're actually implementing the technician to sign. We're giving them the criteria on how to do things, and they are actually going to sign and apply that. And you're going to see this later on. One example is electrical. We have torque and we have seal. In the past, we would say that the terminal was tight. Well, I don't know what the definition of tight is, but I can assure you now that the definition of tight is measured and verified with a measurement tool which you will see later on. So there's a good example of how we're taking the level of quality up higher in Everglades.
Thanks for walking us through that, Stan. It brings into focus all the different things that go into ensuring the quality of an Everglades, from the materials we start with in the beginning to the finished product that comes out the back door. Next, let's go take a look at our metal fabrication area, which is a very unique shop in that 80% of all the metal components that go on our boats, we actually design and fabricate in-house.
This is another unique facet of Everglades boats, our metal fabrication area. By having our own metal shop and not having to rely on independent fabricators like many of our competitors, we can create just-in-time, custom-designed metal parts. This also allows us to maintain strict quality control over them to make sure they stand up to the rigors of an offshore life.
And here we are with Mike Caligieri, the guy who started it all. This is really a business in and of itself, isn't it? How long ago did you start the shop, Mike?
Started it out 15 years ago.
And how has it grown since then?
Immensely. It started out with a very small product line, maybe 3 or 4 items, and over the years it's grown to be over 15 books worth of product lines that we build, parts and such.
Wow, seems like a lot going on here. A lot of different craftsmen doing a lot of different things. What are some of the functions that happen down here in the shop?
Well, we have a small machine shop, which covers all of our prototyping work and small component parts, which gives us the ability to do all our research and development for our moving parts. We do a lot of our own pads in-house. All of our bowing, pipe bending, welding, cutting is all done here.
And all that work shows. Look at the quality of the weld on this hardtop. The diameter of the aluminum that we're using, it's very beefy, very heavy duty to stand up to the rigors at sea. We then send it out after we prep the metal and we have the powder coat finish put on, which makes the Everglades look like it looks and last like it lasts. Now that we finished here in the metal shop, let's go take a look at another unique shop we have here at Everglades, which is our wire room, where we make all of our own wiring harnesses in-house. Here we are in the wire room. Think of it as the nerve center of both the manufacturing process and the finished product. Here we design and build custom wire harnesses for every boat we build. We use Deutsch plugs for watertight connections and tin copper wire run through a loom and then pulled through every hull in the manufacturing process. Here I am with Michelle Fox, supervisor of the wire department.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, why don't you tell us how long you've been here, Michelle, and a little bit about a typical day in the wiring department.
Okay, well, I've been here for 10 years now at Everglades. I've been in the wire room for all 10 years. And a typical day definitely varies for us over here because we average 7 to 9 boats a week, and each of our models has its own unique harness. Each of our harnesses has its own unique print, and I actually hand out the different prints to my team. They build the harnesses, and before we send them across the street to be put into the hulls, we inspect everything before we ship it across the street.
Wow, it gives you a lot of flexibility. I would assume that if a model gets a different option or we change the way that we build something, you can easily come in and change the harness to fit what we're trying to do.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a big benefit.
And it's kind of nice too, because if you know, a customer wants a custom option, we can actually build that here in-house and accommodate them as well.
Excellent, without depending on an outside supplier.
Exactly.
That's great. When we were over in the quality lab earlier, we were talking to Stan, and he was telling us something about a new torque spec.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really great addition to our quality standards here at Everglades. And what it does is it provides a visual method for identifying loose nuts, bolts, and assemblies. Each one of my techs, they have a chart at their different workstations, the torque specs for the different breakers, fuse blocks, and switches that we use. So first they'll go through and they'll hand tighten each of these down, and then they'll go behind it with the torque driver and torque it down to the industry standard. Then we apply a thin layer of the torque seal across the assemblies. That way, if they loosen due to vibration or tampering, it's very visible.
Excellent. So this component, when it goes to the line and is ready to put in the boat, everything's tightened down, it's tested, and ready to go. Nobody needs to do anything.
Nope.
Wow. Just another example of how we're different by design here at Everglades. Having our own wire shop, we don't depend on an outside supplier. We can customize things when we need to. We control quality all the time. And most importantly, we have just-in-time delivery. So the stuff is done and over at the plant when we need it. Another way we distinguish ourselves is with our assembly process. Again, it's the attention to detail that sets us apart. We've gone through all the departments and you've seen how we make all the different components, and now you're going to see how it all comes together. I'm joined here in sub-assembly by Jorge Sotolongo, our Vice President of Operations here at Everglades. Jorge, why don't you tell us a little bit about the modular process here?
Sure thing, Brian. You know, one of the things that modular design does for us is it allows us to be more purposeful, but also offer flexibility in our manufacturing processes. This has allowed us to set up several cellular manufacturing areas, meaning that we can take subcomponents such as all the sub-assemblies behind me here, and the wire room that you visited earlier, as well as the metal fabrication shop you visited earlier, and have those departments work independent of the final assembly line within the predetermined lead times and create complete functional components that can be delivered to the final assembly line in sync with the master production schedule. The other thing it does for us is it allows us for true plug-and-play technology. For instance, taking a look at this console behind me, you can see that we've already installed throttle, steering, some trim mechanisms, compass, and some wirings inside. The ductwork inside of these components and the ability that we can produce them separate from the final assembly line ahead of time allows us to route all of the cable and terminate them. Therefore, when they get dropped into the hull, it's true plug and play. They plug in, the matching termination point is on the boat, and they plug in and they're sealed into place as part of the final process.
Wow. I guess it helps with just-in-time delivery as well, to have this stuff when you need it?
Yeah, exactly. And just-in-time delivery helps us stay on schedule and within beat of the final assembly line. So absolutely.
Excellent. Now here's something you won't see unless you work here at the factory, right, Jorge?
That's correct, Brian. You know, there's several things going on here that are not very visible when the boat's complete. One of the things we want to look at, a RAMCAP process allows us to have a very detailed hull with exacting specifications. Therefore, we can design very major components like the fuel tank and the water tank to fit exactly in the hull to exacting design tolerances. The other thing is, not many people get to see the inside of the hull, or what we call our liner. One of the things that we do that our competitors don't do is that we finish the inside of our boats in the same care and detail that we do the exterior of the boat. I mean, this is something, most of this area right here is covered, about 80% of this area is covered when the boat's in operation, and you will not see this. But yet, we want to make sure that the parts that you don't see are just as exacting and detailed as the parts that you do see.
The attention to detail shows.
Brian, I wanted to point out the rub rail installation process because this is a good example of how we guarantee structural integrity. Our rub rails are installed in a 4-step process. There are 4 different fasteners that are used. First, the deck and hull are chemically bonded or glued together. Then the rub rail frame is riveted to the hull with stainless steel pop rivets. After that, the rub rail itself is installed through the hull with stainless steel fasteners. And then we install the trim piece over it, the stainless steel trim piece, again with another stainless steel fastener. So Brian, this is yet another way how we can ensure structural integrity of the product and also prevent water intrusion. Yet another way where Everglades over-delivers. We've reached the end of our final assembly process, but before any Everglades boat's delivered to its customer, it must undergo a rigorous master inspection process consisting of over 200 individual line items representing the 14 engineering and build elements, and water tested to ensure that it meets our high standards. This is yet another example of our unwavering commitment to safety, quality, and performance. At Everglades, we understand that every boat that we deliver is a representation of who we are as a company and as individuals. Our 285 dedicated employees are committed to building the finest boats and maximizing customer expectations and your ownership experience. More importantly, we understand that every Everglades boat is a commitment from our customers and owner-operators to own the very best. Whether you use your boat for pleasure or for business, we aim to exceed your customer expectations and deliver on your ownership experience. Yet another reason why Everglades reflects you.
Every Everglades boat, from the first line drawing to final assembly, is designed for safety, longevity, and quality. Here we are at our test tank where every boat goes into the pool and we test all the systems to make sure everything's in perfect working order before the boat leaves the factory. In addition to that, all boats over 33 feet are taken to the water and we take them out for a sea trial to make sure that everything's in perfect working order. Everglades are a unique breed of premium top performance fishing and family boats made to exacting standards, yours. If you're looking for something different, something better, something that's not for everyone, you found it. We are Everglades Boats, and we're a reflection of you.